I have a couple of them for the category today, and two of them are sort of lighthearted, and then one of them is a serious. You got to be kidding me. So the first one, I mean, they're always family friendly around here, so I'll try to keep it that way. But the third topic I'm going to talk about here in this segment is one that if you're listening with kids, I will try to talk around it a little bit, unless you want to have that conversation with your kids. But went on, it has to do with the homecoming game assaults that went on out in California last week. If you don't know about it, I'll tell you about it here in a minute, because it's a serious, you got to be kidding me. But on a lighter note, the cripes and the come on. Some of you know that I'm not a big fan of cooking. I complain about it a lot. I just don't like it. I don't see what people get out of it. I try. I go in the kitchen. I try to make food there. Try to keep it in the house, and I try to assemble it and prepare it and design new things. And I've just never ever liked it. I don't get into it. And my wife is a big foodie and a very fine cook, and so we're always sort of going back and forth about why I don't like cooking and all this. And she thinks it has to do with me being lazy and all the rest of it, which very well could be true. But whatever it is, sometimes you just can't explain why you're not into something. There's just some things in this life that you just say, I'm not interested in them. And when people press you on why, like you'll taste something in food with someone and you'll say, oh, I don't care for that. And they'll say, why not? Well, I don't. What kind of rationale is there for why you don't like something? I know a whole number of people that are like, I've tried religion. I just don't like it. And there's no real big overriding reason. Might be a lot of little reasons that sort of pile up, but there's no big ones. Well, okay, so I'm not big into cooking, right? It just kind of bugs me. And I get grief all the time from the foodies around in my life and the people who's, I mean, we have an industrial-sized garden in our backyard. So, like we're growing food and we're preparing it. And I try to give it a go, and I try to be a good sport about it, but I'm really not a very good sport about it, actually. I'm kind of a griper. So anyway, the other day, I'm just trying to make a little toast at my house, Grover. Just trying to make a little toast. And our toaster's horrible.
How can you have a horrible toaster?
Well, how can you not have a horrible toaster is the question I want to raise. Does anybody have a decent toaster? Now, you can call into about how you've changed in your practice of faith or you're thinking about faith at 952-946-6205 or join in the chat room over at DougPagitt.radio.com. You have a good toaster?
I have a good toaster and paid $9 for it.
Okay, now here's what I'm getting at, Grover, because I was saying cripes. I mean, we've got a four slot toaster.
It's too many.
It's got all these little. It looks like 1930s because we made our kitchen look 1930s vintage. But it's got like a bagel setting on it, which means it'll only toast on the outside. It's got a put frozen bread in there kind of thing you can do. Now the right side doesn't go down. And I'll tell you what, the number of times we've had this toaster for 6-7 years. Every time I have to double toast the thing, put the thing down twice.
You got too much going on in that toaster, man.
Well,
That's
I don't know.
why it's not working for you.
Really?
You got to get the old school 2-slice, no bagel.
Well, I'm all about that. I'm willing to go old school. I just don't know where you buy those anymore, because every toaster that I've ever seen in anybody's house, nobody's happy with their toasters. Is it just, now you are. You're the first guy I've ever met.
I am. I think my toaster's it's a little bit older. It's not.
You bought it at Target or something like a couple of years ago? Is that where you got it?
Oh, man.
Where's a guy buying $9 toaster? Was it used?
I think it was Kmart, actually.
Kmart. That's perfect. Of course, it was Kmart. Grover shopping at Kmart. So anyway, on my toaster, I was saying cripes. I mean, I mean, it was unbelievable how much I had to wrestle with this thing. And then the thing, the slots are so deep, I have to use a little deal to reach out of it. And it's just all the things that drive me crazy about the kitchen. So then we've got 30 or 20 people coming over from my daughter's rugby team today. So at 12:30 today, we're going to be hosting a big meal for the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire women's rugby team that's in a tournament, playing right now down in Egan, in fact. And so they're coming over to our house for dinner. So I had to open a whole bunch of cans of pinto beans to go in our tortilla soup that my wife is making. She's handcrafting this thing in the kitchen, slicing, dicing, making up new flavors, all this. So then I've got to give her my try. So she gives me something that I can do. So she gives me the 20 cans of beans, and then the little cans of the chili spices. And I'm standing there with this can opener, right? A hand can opener. Like when I was a kid, we ate everything out of cans. So we had an electric can opener, but not in our house. It's a hand crank. And this thing is worse than my toaster. And I'm not trying to be a big baby about it, but it's unbelievable. It would I don't think one of the 27 cans that I had to open last night did it go all the way around without falling off and stopping and slipping. And I'm like, we have people living on a space station right now, and I can't toast some bread and open 20 cans in a row without just feeling like I'm going to pop a cork.
It's lucky you're not left-handed.
I am left-handed.
I unscrew them and break them all the time. I have to have my significant other to open cans because if you give me that, it's going to be in 2 pieces.
Well, thanks. You know, Grover, I was a little wound up about my toaster and can opening thing, but I'm feeling better all the time. I feel like I'm doing a little better than you on that one.
Hey, as long as I'm just here to help. I'm here to help.
I got a leg up. So anyway, I was letting out a pretty good cripes on the toaster and a come on with the can opener. It's unbelievable. But you got to be kidding me. I don't know if you know about this, but in California last week, there was a homecoming football game, and a newly turned 15-year-old girl was assaulted by a group of at least 10 teenagers and young adults. They got her back in some alley and left her there, and they assaulted her one after the other. It's unbelievable. Rough part of town out by San Francisco, Richmond, California, and not good. Not good at all. So the big you got to be kidding me is that when you get this, I mean, it sounds like something out of the book of Judges in the Bible, and if you don't know where that comes from, you should read it sometime. It's not like the world is getting worse. It's like it keeps repeating the same nonsense, the same ridiculous, the same abuse of certain people. And if religion should do anything in this world, it should move to try to stop that sort of nonsense. It's ridiculous. This poor girl. And the number of people standing around, they're having trouble in California now because they don't know if they can prosecute the witnesses who just stood around and watched. I think equally as bad in this case, equally as morally depraved, is this notion that people would stand there and watch. Some interviewed saying, well, I didn't want to get beaten up by the people who were assaulting this girl. Then there's a story in the newspaper today, actually, a guy that who I know him, turns out. He was walking his kid to the bus stop and saw 3 teenagers in Minneapolis beating up another man on the street. I mean, are you kidding me? And he stepped in and broke it up and got beat up himself, got punched in the face himself about it. So this thing in California, this thing's in Minneapolis. Good for you, Dr. McCullough, for breaking it up here in Minneapolis. And for those of you in California, you need to do something about this. So you got to be kidding me on AM 950, Doug Pagitt Radio.
And over